Welcome back. And if you're just joining us, of course, it is Cosmopolitan Market on the Nigeria Customs Broadcasting Network. If you're just joining the program, okay, you've missed some part of the program. One interview has gone, but then again, we have another interview right now, and we'll be talking about issues around the World Trade Organization and also running the World Trade Organization. There have been talks about reforming the WTO also. I am now being joined virtually by Princewill Eziukwu. He's a development economist, and we're going to be talking about what will arise going forward, especially now that we have the U.S. throwing its full weight behind Nigeria's Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Welcome to the program, Princewill.
Thank you, and good morning.
I think at this point, it's safe to say that you are our in-house economic analyst.
Thank you for that. It's a pleasure.
Welcome to the program once again. I want to begin by asking you now, is it Uhuru yet for us? Should we roll out the drums and start celebrating at this point?
Yes, I think so far, I think we are permitted to celebrate. We are permitted to celebrate at this point in time.
Full weight behind Nigeria's Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Now, I want to ask you, what are your expectations now going forward, as we expect, of course, the official announcement from the World Trade Organization? What are your expectations?
Okay. Thank you. So at the moment, we expect the election. So by member nations, it's very key. It's very key. But while I said we are free to, rejoice, is that people that want to rectify, they were the people that elected her. We saw that she was overwhelmingly, elected by all the countries. We are not expecting any major impediment through that. Coming to what does emergence hold for Africa? One, I think it's important to understand what the WTO does. For you, the WTO, the World Trade Organization, facilitates implementation and administration operations of trade agreement between. It provides a forum for the trade negotiations between its member countries. Also, it's a settlement of disputes member countries to establish rules and regulations. Now, if you, broadly speaking, it helps in expanding the trade, production in goods and services, ensuring large real state growing. So, and finally, one employment that is operating at full force. So, having understood what the organization started from, established in 1st January 1995. So, I strongly believe that I imagine at this critical time in the life of Africa as the emerging continent holds stronger prospects for the continent. We have the African Free Trade Continental Agreement, being commenced this January 1. So I think our emergence will help to smoothing, if I may use that word, smoothing, facilitate international agreements, businesses, and transactions. So I think it's a welcome opportunity for the African continent.
I want to ask you, what do you see, especially on the front of international relations diplomacy, if when she is officially announced as the WTO DG? What dynamics do you see changing, especially as it relates to Nigeria and other parts of the world?
Okay, we know Okonjo-Iweala. She's a reformer. She's somebody who can look at policies. She has strong negotiation skills, which are the things that all these countries saw in her, and they actually fired behind her. So for the country Nigeria, I think she's going to, in as much as, of course, she's not going. I don't see her, upturning the policy, the WTO policy, just to suit Nigeria. But I see someone that we can liaise with, someone we can use her portfolio and position to drive further negotiation. But that will be if we understand what we want. When we understand what we want as a people, when we understand our trade policies, our trade policy trust, then we can align that with what she's offering, her reforms at the coveted organization. So when we do that, we'll be able to achieve. But until we come up with our own domestic policy, domestic trade trust, which some of us have been asking, what is this current government's domestic trade policy? So when we have it, we can align it with her trade and transaction or trade or policy trust. I think that is the best way to go about. But to me, it's always good that you have your person there, where decisions, where policies are taking place. But not just having your person. You also have to bring some things, to the table. When you bring those issues to the table, those will now form the basis for negotiation. Of course, you can't negotiate when you do not bring anything to the table.
What kind of domestic policy trade trust do you think we need to put in place? Because then again, we know, like you have said, our person now is going to the WTO. But are we ready now to receive even some of the policies that will be put in place by Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as head of WTO? Because we know that she's a Nigerian, but then she's heading a world organization. What kind of policy trust are you expecting, or do you think there is a need to put in place that will help guide this process and would also favor Nigeria and Africa in the process going forward?
Yes, at the moment, for the past, from time immemorial, we've always known that whenever it comes to the negotiation table, the trade table, Africa, the negotiation is always skewed against Africa, right? We've already known that because we are contributing less, we are adding less, we add less to the supply chain, to the value chain. Most of our related businesses is that we export raw and then we import. So we add little or no value. Look at the cocoa value chain, look at the oil and gas value chain. We add little or nothing to the value chain. Then you come to technology, also adding little or nothing to that. What does it hold for and Africa? The first what policy situation. Now we have the African Free Continental Trade Agreement. Now, what is our preparedness? What is our option? Like I told you that at Nigeria, having the population we have, of over 210 million people. So if you look at the African population, we have close to 20% of the whole African population. That makes us a large market, right? Now, having the large market does not add anything. We see how people from Niger, all of them, have free access to Nigerian market. Do whatever you want to do and go. So we want to have, in the next 10 years, where do we want this country to be, trade-wise? Now, what do we want to be doing? Do we want to now say, okay, we have to be adding value to our products, so that we can increase its competitiveness in the global market? These are some of the things. There is nothing we can do that we will not have to add. So, proposition, validation should be the trust of whatever, whether it's in the clothing industry, whether it's in the oil and gas, we must add value. So that should be the focal point. Now, having the focal point, you now go ahead to try to break them down. So in industry, you will now say, are we adding value to? Value addition should be the trust. And why value addition should be major struggle? Another reason is that we have to find a way of adding value to create jobs. So the population is growing. This is a very youthful population. So we must add value to create jobs. We need to give. So the imports, if you look at our trade, balance of trade, it's always skewed us by an important money. You understand? So you look at our balance of payments, it's always skewed against us. So we need to change that dynamics. We need to move the country to the point of having positive trade balances. That is the only way to go. And for you, that we change the way we do things. The way we do things, what we actually make should be addressed and holistically looked into. I think that is the best way to do. And if we're doing that, then we have somebody in the WTO that can now support those policies. She cannot support you when you do not have.
Okay, Princewill, I want to also ask at this point. Now, a lot has been said about how the trade industry globally is in a depression because we've seen the trade sector contract as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and how countries have gone into lockdown as a result of the coronavirus. Do you see a Herculean task ahead for Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala?
Yes, I strongly believe that the World Trade Organization, supposed to be the highest organization facilitating trade, settling disputes among countries. But at the moment, they are just like a bulldog. We see what happened during Trump era. How he one day just woke up and said he's banning this one, he's increasing more tariff from this country. Now, still being an organization, still being a country that subscribe a major critical stakeholder in WTO. So, but they can go ahead and do whatever they want to do. So, even to bring the countries together to a round table to discuss at this point in time, we see America trying to do everything to undermine China, and we see China, being said to not observing and adhering to global international trade agreements. So I feel it's a Herculean task for her. It's a very big one, and but I'm rest assured that she has the capacity, she has the international connect to actually make those happen.
Also, still sticking with what's happening, especially on the global trade front. Now, we saw a tide of protectionism going on, and it has dominated for some time now. We saw the back and forth between the United States of America and China over tariff issues. You rightly mentioned that. How do you think she would handle this situation, or what are the possible ways do you see a reforming in that process? Because a lot of countries are saying we are looking at our country first before even looking at those on the other side of the fence. Then there's also the issue of the COVID-19. There are also expectations that when countries do a very huge vaccine rollout, if you are coming from a country that you have not been vaccinated, there might be challenges. Now, what are your thoughts on how these can be addressed, especially the tide of protectionism going around currently for trade?
A whole lot have happened since the 20th century, when everything was globalization. Everybody's trying to partner with one country to grow. Seeing that the more united we are, the more possibilities for us to expand our trade. But at this point in time, a whole lot of people are saying in the West, former president of America, Donald, let's make America great again. So his intention and his focus is to make America great again. I completely agree. But also, there is also people have tested a globalized world, right? Now, technology have also made it possible for us to relate, share ideas, share technologies. There has been increase in technology, and so many countries are taking advantage of that to drive and increase their productive capacities. Of course, leaving some of us in Africa are still struggling to provide adequate power. I don't know how you can drive technology without power. So, of course, we are at a disadvantage. But whether the issue of rollout of vaccines, COVID-19 vaccines, and what have you. Yes, I agree. But I also feel that those things are going to be short-termism in nature. Now, she, from where she came from, looking at her antecedents and what she was able to achieve in 2005 during the Obasanjo regime, where they were able to negotiate bailout, and loan for highly indebted countries, majorly in Africa. So we saw how difficult it was to get those club of creditors to come together and forgive those debt. I would like to say restructure those debts. I think that contributed to the evergreen growth that was achieved in most African countries. Because if you look at even the growth rate in most African countries, it happened between 2006 to 2012. So you can just look at it. Even Nigeria, we have the best growth period. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not going to last long. It's going to be a short term, maybe 1 year, 2 years economic disruption. But at the end, I feel that with good faith, which the election of Biden, I hope will bring to the international trade. And then China's continued show of good faith also will actually make her job a lot easier for her.
I was having a conversation with you before we came up some time ago.
Before I forget,
what do you think brought about this game changer, especially for the U.S. to now officially throw its weight behind Nigeria's candidate, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo Iweala? Where do you think this connect came in from?
So to me, I think three things. I've been thinking about it. Actually, three things. One is the idea that Biden wants international community to, see him as an ally that can be trusted. Coming from where America, have been for the past 4 years of street protectionism. So he coming in now, America is, Trump policies, some of his policies, will make America great, of course, but that is to the detriment of their international relationships, some of their allies. So I see a Biden who is coming in to say, no, we are jettisoning the formal policy. We want to now align, we want to realign, we want to build more bridges. So, and for you to do that, I see a situation where had it been he continued with the South Korean woman, that is like continuing with Trump position. So aligning himself to Okonji that has already gotten majority and support from member countries would show him as one that can be trusted. So that's one. And then two, there is also the international diplomacy, which I think actually played more. Maybe the woman, who knows, I'm not privy to the information. Maybe there is a more juicier position, that is being on the offering that we are not aware of. But in all the scenarios, I think it's a good thing for both Biden, the World Trade Organization, because I don't see where Biden must have continued with that, and at the end maybe the woman from South Korea will be taken, and then there will be unity, there will be reforms, in the organization. So it could have been a more difficult task to achieve. But with an Okonjo that has been supported by a handful of, absolute majority of other countries, I think it's a very good opportunity for him. And he played his cards very well. Biden played his cards very well. And the kudos to Okonjo for maintaining this neutrality and professionalism in the midst of all those politicking and international diplomacy. I think she's really an icon to record with.
I want to ask, what key reforms, and I would like you to be specific now, what key reforms are you looking forward to? Because we know she has a stellar record, and we know there's a lot of weight of expectation for Dr. Ngozi Okonjo Iweala as she goes into the WTO. We await an official announcement from the World Trade Organization on her emerging as the first African and first woman to be the Director General of the WTO. What key reforms are you expecting in specifics, Princewill?
Okay, so first, I would want to see a more improved trade agreement between African countries and China. So that is one major area I really want Okonjo to look at. You need to look at the trade agreements between African countries and China is very key. Because before now it has been skewed seriously against those countries. Secondly, I need to look at the world is overburdened with debt at this point in time. So we need to, I'm looking at how she will come up with a trade liberalization that will, despite the fact that some of these African countries and some of these countries are overburdened with debt, she can come up with these countries from debt. It's very key because, and then technological penetration is also another area I expect her to work strongly because a whole lot of African countries and they find it very difficult. They find it very difficult to penetrate in some of these new emerging issues.
Yes.
Then we have the patents, the issue of patents. A whole lot of some of these talk about patent medicines and what have you. A whole lot of it is actually against the continent. Of course, because we are still finding it difficult to provide enough resources to go into massive research and development. So it depends on what other countries have done, the research they have come up with, to drive our own production. But a whole lot of them are patented. So high patents is discouraging productivity. So we need to also see how she can align or find the means between maintaining those patents that will encourage the organizations to invest more in research, at the same time to encourage developing economies to have access to those high-powered research outputs. So by so doing, it will help to bridge the gap between the have and the have-not. So
Let's
I talked
have your
about
final
patents.
thoughts
I talked about
going forward, especially. We hope to get the announcement in coming weeks or coming months from the WTO. What are your closing parting words for Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and, of course, for trade in Africa, in Nigeria, and globally?
Yes, my parting word for her is that she also have to be careful. I can't. Of course, I'm not in a position to tell how serious the workers she's with, how they are highly infested with sharks and crocodiles. But then our prayers are with her.
Many would want to not agree with you on the thought of sharks and crocodiles, Princewill.
This international diplomacy, a whole lot is involved, and a whole
We
lot of
also
interest, is involved.
We also hope to see more grounds being gained, especially for more Nigerians assuming good strategic positions, especially that will help propel the nation's economy. Thank you so much, Princewill Eziukwu, for your time with us today, and thank you for always coming through whenever we need you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great day. And with that, we wrap up Cosmopolitan Markets today. I hope you were able to take one or two things away from both interviews. The first interview I had was with Ferdinand Ladi Adimefe. He's the CEO of Imaginarium Group, talking about issues around the crypto ban in Nigeria, the Central Bank of Nigeria telling deposit finance institutions and non-financial institutions to desist from partaking in cryptocurrency payments. And they also warned of regulatory sanctions that will come for those that are found wanting. And Ferdinand also said during the first segment of the program today that it is necessary and it is essential for all parties involved to come to the table and see how we can build mileage, especially in this sector. He also says something very vital, how we can engage blockchain technology and issues around cryptocurrency in Nigeria's curriculum, so we begin to teach young people from a very young stage about some of these things so they are not alien when they eventually grow up. And we just had Princewill talking about the WTO, the task ahead for Nigeria's Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala after the South Korean trade minister did step down for her, leaving her as the only candidate of the WTO. He talked about issues, reforms he's expecting on trade liberalization, and also issues around ensuring that Nigeria also gets good policies from this. Also, Africa has to tap and leverage on the fact that we have an African occupying that very key position. Thank you for investing your time with me today, and remember to stay safe. COVID-19 is still out there. Wear a mask to protect yourself and protect others. Use your hand sanitizer. Wash your hands as much as possible, and also maintain good social distance, because this hydra-headed monster, it takes I and yourself to fight it, and for us to fight it, we have to resort to non-pharmaceutical measures, especially to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Kindly follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, on our website. All the information you need to know and have on business, commerce, finance, and even the stock market, and news making the rounds in the polity. Remember, the world is a global village, and information now is on the go. And I promise you, you do not want to miss out on that. Those are the handles there for you on your screen. So take your phone, take your pads, go to your PCs, and click the notification button on our YouTube. Subscribe for more insightful and good content. My name is Christiana Amodu. From myself and the entire crew here, it's bye for now, and have a great day ahead.